Hello everyone, welcome back to Sulekha Physics classes. It is the most easiest way to learn all the concept of physics through this class. Hope you all are doing good. From today, I am going to start one short series of class 11th physics, and I will start first with chapter 3, that is motion in a straight line. In this chapter, we will discuss different topics like what is position, path length, displacement, average speed, average velocity, then what do you mean by instantaneous speed, instantaneous velocity, then acceleration, kinematics equations for uniformly accelerated motion, and at last relative velocity. I will discuss each topic one by one. But before starting these topics, you must know the meaning of this chapter. What does it mean? Motion in a straight line. Right. This chapter comes under branch of physics that is called mechanics. Now, what is mechanics? What are different branches of mechanics? And this chapter comes under which branch of mechanics, right? Okay, let us start. Now, this chapter, motion in a straight line, comes under the branch of physics that is called mechanics. And most of the chapter of class 11th physics are under this mechanics, from chapter 3 to chapter 8, 9, 10. All this chapter comes under mechanics branch, right? So what is this mechanics? It's very important topic, right? Mechanics is nothing but study about motion of objects. You have to deal with the motion of objects. You know, there are only two states of motion. Either the body is at rest or the body is in motion. They are moving. So on the basis of these two states, again the mechanics are divided into three branches: statics, kinematics, and dynamics. And now what are these? Statics, kinematics, and dynamics. Static means study of objects at rest, right? Kinematics and dynamics, in both these branches you have to study about motion of objects when the object is in motion. But what is the difference between this kinematics and dynamics? Because in both these cases you have to study of objects in motion, but there is a large difference between these two. In kinematics, you have to study of motion of an object without considering cause of motion. You know what is the main factor responsible for motion? That is force. When you apply some force, it creates some motion in the body. So in kinematics, you have to study about motion of objects without considering the cause of motion. And in dynamics, you have to consider the cause of motion. That is, you have to study about force. This is the difference between kinematics and dynamics. But in both these chapters, you have to study about objects in motion. And this chapter, motion in a straight line, comes under this branch, kinematics. There are two chapters of kinematics, motion in a straight line and motion in a plane, right? So first, this motion, there are two states: either the body is at rest or the body is in motion. What is rest? What is motion? If an object does not change its position with respect to surrounding, right, then that object is said to be rest. And these things you have to study in this branch, statics. When the position of any object changes with its surroundings with respect to time, then that object is said to be motion. These two are states of any object. Either the object is at rest or the object is in motion. So rest means you have to study about statics, and motion means you have to study about kinematics and dynamics. Now this chapter is motion in a straight line. This comes under this kinematics branch, right? In which we just study about different factors related to motion. We do not consider the cause of motion. It means force. We just only discuss about when motion takes place, then what are different quantities related to the motion, different terms, right? So this kinematics, you have to study about motion in one dimension, motion in two dimension, and motion in three dimension. In your syllabus, there are two chapters, these two: motion in one dimension. One dimension means along x-axis, y-axis, or z-axis. Either the motion is along x-axis or along y-axis or along z-axis, any one dimension, right? It means when the motion is in one dimension, the body moves in a straight line. right? Either along x-axis, y-axis or z-axis, in any direction along a straight line. This is also a straight line motion. This is also a straight line motion in any one direction, any one dimension. This is called motion in a straight line, which we are discussing in this chapter. And this motion in a straight line is also called rectilinear motion. On the basis of path followed by the object, again motion are divided into different types, like rectilinear motion when the motion moves in a straight line, circular motion when the body moves in a circular path, then oscillatory motion, to and fro motion is called oscillatory motion. So no need to discuss about that thing. Only must know about the motion in a straight line. It means motion in one dimension, and that is also called rectilinear motion. Linear means straight, right? Now, motion in two dimension, which is next chapter of this one, chapter number 4. That is motion in plane. Plane means any two dimension, any two directions. Suppose this one is x, y and z. And suppose object is moving in this plane, like this one. This is x. So this includes two direction, x and y. X and y, two dimensions are there. So when the motion in plane, it means motion in two dimensions. Next example is about projectile motion, which we'll discuss in chapter number 4. Then motion in three dimension, it means motion in space, like aeroplane, birds flying, bees are moving. All these are motion in space. So our main focus on this chapter is about motion in a straight line, and in this chapter we will discuss different terms related to this motion without considering the cause of motion. That is, we do not discuss about force in this chapter, right? So first take a screenshot of this one, then we will start the main topic of this chapter. Okay, now first you must know about point object. What does it mean? Point object means a small size object. Is only a small size object behaves like a point object? No, a large size object also behaves like a point object. Okay, so you can say that point object means when object cover distance greater than its size. Suppose a train is moving, and if a train covers large distance as compared to its size, then it behaves like a point object. So point object definition is when object cover distance greater than its size, then you can say that that object behaves like a point object. Now one more thing, frame of reference. There are two states of motion, either the object is at rest or in motion. It depends upon the observer that anything is at rest or in motion, because the same object is at rest with respect to one observer and is in motion with respect to another observer. It means rest and motion are relative terms. You already studied about these things in class 9th, right? Now relative term means it depends upon the type of observer. You can decide the state of object. So that observer is nothing but reference point, and with all three coordinate axes with time, that is called frame of reference. What is frame of reference? It is a coordinate system x, y, z with time, with respect to which we can describe the position and motion of any object. If you want to describe the motion of any object fully, you need one frame of reference. Frame of reference is the three coordinate system with respect to time, which can describe fully the position and motion of any object. Suppose the object is at this point P. So how you describe its motion? It is along x, y, z axis with time t. This is the position of this object. So frame of reference is important to describe fully the position and motion of any object. Now there are two types of quantity, right? Physical quantity are those quantity which we can measure. So that quantity may be either scalar or vector. What is this scalar quantity and what is this vector quantity? Scalar quantities are those quantities having magnitude only, like distance, speed, okay, work. These are scalar quantity. Vector quantities are those quantities having both both magnitude and direction. Like example, displacement, velocity, all these are vector quantity. Acceleration, force, right? These quantities have both magnitude and direction. So when we discuss about different terms related to motion, we also discuss about what type of those quantities, either scalar or vector quantity, right? Now, before discussing different terms, you must know about position, because you know motion means what? When an object changes its position with respect to its surroundings with some time, right? Now, suppose initially the object is at point A, and after some time the object reaches to point B. So this point A is the position of an object. Initially the position of the object is at A. This is initial position. And after some time it reaches to point B. This one is its final position. So position means what? Point at which an object is located at a particular instant of time, right? This is called position. And when the object changes its position with time, then that object is said to be in motion. Now there are different terms related to motion. First I will discuss about distance, and then displacement. After that is speed, velocity, acceleration. Okay, so please take a screenshot of this one first. Now path length, or you can say distance. What is this path length or distance? Path length, as the name suggests, length of the path. Suppose you are at this position A. The initial position is A, and after some time you reaches to point B. So you can choose any path in going from initial to final position. You can go directly from this A to B, or you can choose this path. You can go like this one. You can go like this one. You can choose any path to move from one position to another positions. And these different paths, suppose this is path 1, path 2, path 3, path 4, path 5. Whatever path you are choosing, what is the total length of that path? That is called path length, length of the path. And it is also called distance. So different paths have different distances. So it depends upon the path which you are choosing. Your path length or distance is different, and you can choose any path. It doesn't matter in which direction you are going. You have to reach from one point to your final position B. Whatever path you are choosing, it doesn't matter in which path you are going. So in this case, direction doesn't matter. It means it is a scalar quantity. So you can define it this way: path length is length of actual path covered by a body between initial and final position, right? It is a scalar quantity. It's assigned, as it is path length is length or distance, so its SI unit is meter, and it is always positive, or you can say or 0. Its value is always positive or 0. It never be negative. We cannot take negative values, right? Then next one is displacement. What is this displacement? In this figure, in moving from A to B, there are different paths, but whatever is the shortest path, that is path number 3. Directly a straight line joining initial and final position. What is the change in position? A to B. This shortest path, path 3, is called displacement. So you can define this with change in position from initial to final point. If after some time you return back to its original position, it means your initial and final position is same. So displacement is 0. So what is the change in position from initial to final? This is displacement. And you can also define the shortest path between initial and final position. Here path 3 is what? Displacement. It is the shortest path. From all these 5 paths, this line, straight line joining A to B, is the shortest path. So you can say this path 3 is displacement. As this from A to B, it is directly a line joining from A to B. So in this case, direction matters. So it is a vector quantity, and displacement may be positive, negative or 0. It can take any values, right? how it is positive, negative displacement, I will discuss after this one. So hope definition is clear what is path length and what is displacement. Now there are different cases. In some cases path length is equal to displacement. In which case path length is equal to displacement? Suppose this is initial position and after some time you move through this path and reaches to point B, final position. So when an object is moving in a straight line and in one direction, here both path and path length is AB is what? Object moves from this A to B, so AB is distance or path length, right? And here displacement is what? Initial position is A, again final position is B, so AB is displacement also, right? So when an object moves in a straight line, right, in one direction, in that case path length and displacement are same. Next case is path length is not equal to 0 but displacement is 0. Suppose initially object is at point A. After some time it reaches to point B and then after that it reaches to point C and again come back to its original position A. So in moving from A to B, B to C, C to A, what is path length? Total length of the path AB from A to B, then B to C plus BC and then C to A, CA. This is the path length. And what is displacement here? Displacement, initial position is A, after it moves to B, then C, then again return back to its this position, original position A. So initial and final position is same. It means change in position is what? 0. So displacement here is 0. So this is an example of when path length is not equal to 0 but displacement is 0. Suppose you are moving in a circular path. Suppose you are at this point and after this you move from this one like this one in a circular path. Again it will return back to its this position. Suppose this R is the radius of the circular path. So initial position is A and after completing one circle again you return back to this position A. Here displacement is what? 0. Again initial and final position is same. But what is distance? Distance is in completing one circular path, it is circumference of the circle. So here in this figure path length is what? 2 pi r and displacement is what? 0. Right? So in this way you calculate path length, displacement, anything, right? There is one important relation between path length and displacement. From all these points there is one conclusion. What is relation between path length and displacement? After discussing these things, we came to the conclusion that path length, or you can say distance, path length is always greater than displacement or equal to displacement also. So greater than equal to displacement. This one is very important relation, that path length is always greater than and equal to displacement. This one. It never be less than displacement. So one point you also include in this difference, that path length is always equal to or greater than displacement, or you can say displacement is also less than or equal to path length. So this one is important relation. There are many options are given when path length is, whether path length is always equal to displacement, path length is always less than displacement, path length is always equal to displacement, or path length is greater than equal to displacement. So this option is correct. Path length is always greater than and equal to displacement. So these are about path length and distance. Please take a screenshot of this one. After this we'll move to the next topic. Now, before discussing this speed and velocity, I am going to solve one or two problems based on distance and displacement. First problem is find ratio of distance and displacement. This one is initial position and B is final position. So from A to B, what is distance and what is displacement? Then you have to find ratio. So in moving from A to B, what is distance? distance is this A to B. It can go from with the help of this path. So distance is this one, and this one is nothing but, if one revolution complete, then circumference of the circle. Circumference of the circle, this one is half revolution, right now. So this one is what? Half of circumference of the circle, half of 2 pi, and radius is r. So this becomes pi into r. Now this one is distance. Now displacement. Displacement is the shortest path. Initial position is A, final position is B. This one, this straight line is, this one is shortest path. And how you calculate this displacement AB? From the center, r is radius, so this one is r, and this side is also r. So displacement becomes 2r. So what is the ratio of distance to displacement? You just divide these two, right? In this way you calculate pi r by 2r. So pi by 2. This is the ratio of distance to displacement. If it completes one complete revolution, this one is A position, and this is half revolution from A to B, and again return back to original position A. So in this case, what is distance? Distance is for one revolution is circumference of the circle 2 pi r. R is the radius of the circular path. And what is displacement here? Here initial position is A and final position is also A. No change in position after completing one revolution. Displacement is 0. In this way you calculate circular motion problem. Like, come to second question. A man moves 10 meter in north, then turns 10 meter in east. Find the distance and displacement. In this type of questions, you first draw axis north, south, west and east. This one is north, south, west and east. And this is origin. You always take this point, intersection of all these four lines, origin. A man moves 10 meter in north. It means from here moves 10 meter. This one is 10 meter. And then turns 10 meter in east. East this side. It turns 10 meter to east. And then it reaches to point this one. Suppose this is A. So here initial position is at origin O and final position is A. Now you have to calculate distance and displacement. So distance is what? Distance is simply 10 meter towards north and 10 meter towards east. So distance is how much? Here distance is 10 meter plus 10 meter becomes 20 meter. But what is displacement? Initial position is this one and final position is this one. So you just line joining this. This is the shortest path right now. So this initial position O, final position A. What is this OA? OA is displacement. And how you calculate displacement? In this case, this one is the hypotenuse of this triangle, this 90 degree. So you know Pythagoras theorem. This 10 meter square plus 10 meter square gives you OA whole square. So displacement is OA here. And from this formula, OA square equal to 10 meter square plus 10 meter square. So OA becomes under root this 10 square 100 plus 100. So it gives what? 200. So 200 means 10 root 2 meter. This is the answer, 10 root 2 meter, right now. So this is 10 root 2 meter is nothing but displacement. In this way, you calculate problems based on distance and displacement for half cycle, for full cycle, for 3/4 cycle. Suppose this one is like, circle is like this one. Initial position is A, it reaches to B, then C and then D. So final position is D. So here you can calculate easily this distance A to B, B to C, C to D, 3/4 of this circumference of the circle, and this one AD is the displacement. So you can easily, if you know the radius of this circle, you can easily calculate this displacement also. In this way, you have to solve different problems based on distance and displacement. Please take a screenshot, then move to the next topic, that is speed Now, next is speed and velocity. You must know about speed and velocity. Speed is rate at which an object covers distance, right? So, rate here in physics means per unit time. So, rate at which an object covers distance means speed is equal to distance by time taken. Its SI unit is meter per second, and as distance is a scalar quantity, so speed is also a scalar quantity, and dimensional formula is m to the power 0 L t minus 1. This is speed. What is velocity? Velocity is same as speed, but speed with direction. Rate at which a particle changes its position, rate of change of position or change in position per unit time. And you know change in position means displacement. So you can also write velocity is the ratio of displacement to time, right? Displacement per unit time taken. It is also a displacement is a vector quantity, so velocity is also a vector quantity, but its sign is the same, meter per second, dimensional formula is same. So now after this there are different types of speed and velocity, but before that you must know about motion, types of motion. One is uniform motion, another one is non-uniform motion. What is uniform motion? If a body covers equal distance in equal interval of time. Suppose in first 10 second body covers 1 meter, then next 10 second body covers again 1 meter, then again next 10 second body covers again 1 meter. So if a body covers equal distance in equal interval of time, then you can say that its motion is uniform. For example, car moving on a smooth road, its speed is uniform throughout the motion. It's constant. So for uniform motion, equal distance by equal time and speed is distance by time. So the ratio of distance to time is always equal. It means the speed is constant here. So for uniform motion, speed is constant. Right now? Okay. Now come to non-uniform motion. If an object or body covers unequal distance in equal interval of time, same thing. In first 10 second it covers 1 meter. Then in next 10 second, it means up to 20 second, it covers from 10 to 2 meter. Then again 10 second, it covers suppose 0.5 meter. It means it covers unequal distance in equal interval of time. So at different time interval, its speed is different for different, right? The same equal time interval. Every time is 10 seconds, but its distance is different for different time interval. It means its speed is also different. So its speed is variable in case of non-uniform motion. Here speed is variable, or you can say changing. Speed is changing. So two things clear. In case of uniform motion, speed is constant because body covers equal distance in equal interval of time, and in case of non-uniform motion, speed is variable. Body covers unequal distance in equal interval of time. On the basis of this uniform and non-uniform motion, speed is of different types and velocity is of different types. There are 4 types of speed. One is uniform speed or constant speed. Another one is non-uniform speed or variable speed. And if the speed is variable, then again in this case there is one average speed and instantaneous speed. So there are 4 types of speed and again 4 types of velocity. So first take a screenshot of this one, then after that we'll discuss about types of speed and velocity. Now types of speed. There are 4 types of speed, right? If the motion is uniform, it means if a body covers equal distance in equal interval of time, in that case its speed is constant, and that is called uniform speed, or you can say constant speed. Constant speed. And constant speed is only in case of uniform motion. If object covers equal distance in equal interval of time, then its speed is uniform, or you can say constant speed. But if the motion is non-uniform, if an object covers unequal distance in equal interval of time, it means its speed is what? Variable or non-uniform speed. So non-uniform speed, or you can say variable. Variable speed, or you can write changing speed. It changes from time to changing speed, right? So it takes place only in case of Non-uniform motion, if object covers unequal distance in equal interval of time, then its speed is said to be non-uniform speed. And if during the whole journey, if its speed is non-uniform or variable, then how you calculate total speed during the whole journey? You have to calculate average speed for that one. So third type of speed is average speed, right? And it is only in case of, you have to calculate in case of non-uniform. The speed is variable. It varies from time to time. In that case, you have to calculate during the whole journey average speed. And average speed is total distance by total time taken. What is the total distance covered during the whole journey and total time? So this one is del x by del t. Now next is instantaneous speed. During the whole journey, suppose you cover one position to another position in 20 minutes. So if anyone asks what is your speed at 10 minutes or 15 minutes, then speed at particular time during the whole journey, it's, you have to calculate average speed. But what is the speed at a particular instant, at a particular time? That speed is called instantaneous speed. Speed at any particular instant. And to calculate instantaneous speed, this one is average speed. This only case for large time interval, for large change, right? But for small change, you have to calculate instantaneous speed at a particular time. So how you calculate instantaneous speed? In average speed, you take limit delta t tends to 0. In the average speed, it becomes dx by dt. And you know what is d? D is differentiation, derivative. You have studied already. I already discussed all these things in mathematical tools. D is used for small change, and for small change, differentiation is used. Differentiation or derivative of x with respect to t. So in this way, you have to calculate average speed in case of non-uniform motion, instantaneous speed. It will be more clear with the help of one example. I will solve after this. First, you discuss types of velocity. Like types of speed, types of velocity is also same. First one is uniform velocity. For uniform motion or constant velocity, you can say. Constant velocity. If an object covers equal displacement in equal interval of time, in that case velocity is uniform. Non-uniform velocity, or you can say variable velocity, right? It is in case of non-uniform motion. And if the velocity is variable, then in that case for long journey, for large time interval, you have to calculate average speed for large change or long time interval. You have to calculate average speed. And how you calculate average speed? Total displacement or total change in position by total time taken. Suppose x1 is initial position, and after some time, at time t1, right? Time is t1. After some time t2, you reaches to point x2. This one is final position. This one is x1. This one is x2. So what is the change in position? That is displacement x2 minus x1, and total time is t2 minus t1. You can write x2 minus x1 as delta x. This delta represents large change, right? Here difference between delta and small d is delta represents large change and small d differentiation represents for small change. That is used to represent a small change. In the same way, instantaneous velocity. How you calculate instantaneous velocity? Just you put limit delta t tends to 0 in the average velocity. Delta represents large change, and this delta t tends to 0, del x by del t becomes dx by dt. For a small change, this d is used. D is used for differentiation of x with respect to derivative of x with respect to time. So it becomes clear that for large change you have to calculate average speed and average velocity, and speed or velocity at a particular instant you have to calculate instantaneous speed. It means derivative of distance or displacement with respect to time. Hope it's clear, and it will be more clear with the help of one example I will solve after this one. There is one important relation between average speed and average velocity. As speed is always positive, because distance is always positive, but displacement may be positive, negative or 0. So velocity also may be positive, negative or 0. So average speed is always greater than or equal to average velocity. It means ratio of average speed to okay, write down average speed to average velocity. Ratio is always greater than equal to 1. Its ratio is average speed is always greater than equal to 1. Hope it's clear to all of you how you calculate average and instantaneous, right? And these two are calculated only for non-uniform motion. If the motion is uniform, in that case speed is constant. If the motion is non-uniform, speed is variable. For variable speed, you have to calculate average speed during the whole journey for large time interval, and instantaneous speed or velocity at a particular instant. Hope it's clear to all of you. Please take a screenshot of this one. Okay, now problems based on average velocity and instantaneous velocity, right? Question number 1. If a body travels from A to B at 40 meter per second and from B to A 60 meter per second, it's given that body moves from A to B at the speed of 40 meter per second, and from B to A returning time, it moves with the speed of 60 meter per second. Now you have to calculate average speed and average velocity. How you calculate average speed? What is the formula for average speed? Total distance by total time. If anything is given, with the help of that one, you have to calculate total distance divided by total time, and average velocity is total displacement by total time, change in position by total time. So first one, you have to calculate average speed. What is the formula for average speed? Total distance by total time, right? Total distance traveled by total time taken. So here distance is not given, time is also not given, only speed is given. So in this case, during A to B and B to A, distance is same. Let us suppose that it covers D distance. From A to B, then B to A also D distance. So total distance is what? D plus D. Now you have to calculate total time from A to B and B to A. Speed you know, from A to B 40 meter per second, suppose time in T1 time, and from B to A speed is 60 meters per second in time T2. Now you have to calculate T1 and T2. So total time is T1 plus T2. How you calculate T1 and T2? Speed you know, distance you know. You know time is what? Distance is equal to speed into time. So time T1 is what? Distance by speed. And speed from A to B is what? 40 meter per second. So D by 40 is time. Now T2 is what? Speed is 60 meter per second, and time, this distance is again D. So distance by speed is 60 meter per second. So in this way you calculate T1 and T2, you put these values here. So this average speed becomes what? D plus D2D divided by T1 plus T2. T1 is what? D by 40 plus T2 is what? D by 60. You take LCM, right? Here in the numerator 2D, here LCM is 40 into 60 is LCM here, and then you multiply it by this one, 60 on this one. Bas. 40 into 60 is LCM. You take D common here. This side becomes 60 plus 40, right? So it becomes 2D by D Here, when you solve this one, 60 plus 40 is 100 divided by 60 into 40 is 2400, right? This DD cancel, this 00 cancel. It becomes, this 24 goes in the numerator, 2 into 24. It becomes 48 meter per second. So average speed becomes what? 48 meter per second. So from A to B, B to A speed is given, and to calculate average speed you have to find total distance and total time. So here total distance is same in from A to B and B to A, right? But how you calculate time, because speed is different, so it takes different time. So total time again from A to B take T1 and B to A T2. Now you have to calculate T1 and T2 with the help of this speed and distance. You know T1 distance by speed, T2 is also, and this way you calculate average speed. Now next is average velocity. Average velocity is what? Yes, here I will calculate this one. Average velocity is what? Change in position or total displacement by total time. So total displacement is what? Initial position is A, from A to B, again it returned back to A. So change in position is 0. Total displacement by total time, right? Total displacement is what? 0. So average speed and velocity, average velocity is 0 here, and average speed is this one. In this way you have to calculate average speed and average velocity. Now second question is for average velocity and instantaneous velocity. How you calculate velocity at a particular instant. So question is, if s equal to t cube plus 6t square, it's given, displacement is given, you have to calculate average speed velocity first and then velocity at t equal to 2 seconds. At a particular second, it means instantaneous velocity. So first part, how you calculate this one? Average velocity. Average velocity. To calculate average velocity, formula is what? Total displacement or total change in position per unit total time. So you have to calculate average velocity between t equal to 1 second and t equal to 3 seconds. So at t equal to 1 second, what is the position? At t equal to 3 seconds, what is the position? And then if you know t equal to 1 second, t equal to 3 second position, you can easily calculate total change in position, total displacement. So first you have to calculate displacement at t equal to 1 second, then displacement at t equal to 3 seconds, then you have to calculate total displacement. So at t equal to 1 second, S1 is what? You put S is given here right now, you put in place of this t 1 second. So 1 cube plus 6 1 square, it becomes 1 plus 6, that is 7 meter. Now at t equal to how much time? 3 seconds, right? At t equal to 3 seconds, S3 becomes, in place of t you put 3. So 3 cube plus 6, 3 square, 339 27 plus 339 96 54, it becomes 7 8 9 10 11 5 6 7 81 meter, right? So now you know position at t equal to 1 second, at t equal to 3 seconds. You can easily calculate total displacement. So average velocity becomes, total displacement is what? S3 minus S1, position at 3 and position at 1 second, and divided by 3 minus 1, t2 minus t1, no? Formula is t3 minus t1. t3 means at 3 seconds and t1 is 1 second. So S3 minus S1, S3 is 81 minus 71 divided by 3 minus what here? 2 is there, no? At t equal to 1 second. So 81 minus 7, no? By 3 minus 1. So 81 minus 7, it becomes 74 divided by 2, and when you solve this one, 2 3 6 2 7 14, 37 meter per second. This is average speed. So to calculate average speed, you have to calculate total displacement. So displacement equation is given. You have to calculate displacement at these two time interval, and in this way you have to calculate average speed, right? So in this way first part is over. Now second part. Here find velocity at t equal to 2 seconds. It's not given that you have to find instantaneous velocity. Only given that you have to find velocity at 2 seconds. So velocity at a particular time is nothing but what? Instantaneous velocity. Right now, and instantaneous velocity is what? ds by dt. Derivative of s with respect to t. S is given, you have to calculate, differentiate with respect to time, you get instantaneous velocity. So ds by dt, d by dt, s is what? T cube plus 6t square. You know differentiation, we already discussed these things in mathematical tools. You watched that videos, mathematical tools part 1 and part 2. So differentiation of t cube is what? 3t square plus 6. Differentiation of t square is 2t. So V instantaneous, you have to calculate at t equal to what time? 2 seconds. Right now? At t equal to 2 seconds. So you put the value in place of t equal to 2 seconds. 3, 2 square plus 6 into 2, 12. And t is 2. You get 2 to 4, 9, 4 3s are 12 plus 12 2s are 24. In this way you get value 636 meter per second. This is instantaneous velocity at what time? T equal to 2 seconds. So to calculate average velocity, you have to calculate total displacement. To calculate velocity at a particular time, you have to calculate instantaneous velocity. It means you have to differentiate that displacement with respect to time and put the value at which time you have to calculate. T equal to 2 seconds, T equal to 1 second, T equal to 3 seconds. At any time you have to calculate instantaneous velocity using this formula. Hope it's clear to all of you how you calculate average speed, average velocity, instantaneous velocity right now. Please take a screenshot of this one. Then we will move to the next topic, that is acceleration. Now acceleration. After velocity, you have to study about acceleration, denoted by small a. What is acceleration? It is rate of change of velocity. How velocity changes with time. It is calculated by a physical quantity that is called acceleration. So acceleration is rate of change of velocity. As velocity is a vector quantity, so acceleration is also a vector quantity. It is change in velocity per unit time. SI unit of velocity is meter per second and time per second. So its SI unit is meter per second square, and dimensional formula becomes m to the power 0 L t to the power minus 1. Dimension of this meter is L and second square is t square. So t to the power minus 2. This is dimensional formula. So again acceleration may be positive, negative or 0. What is positive acceleration, negative acceleration, 0 acceleration? If velocity increases with time, then that acceleration is called positive acceleration. It is an upward motion. Its velocity increases with time. If velocity increases with time, then acceleration is positive, right? Negative acceleration, if velocity decreases with time during downward motion. If velocity decreases with time, then acceleration is negative acceleration. And this negative acceleration is also called retardation. Means negative acceleration, right? Then 0 acceleration. What is 0 acceleration? If there is no change in velocity. Velocity increases, positive acceleration. Velocity decreases, negative acceleration. 0 acceleration means no change in velocity. Velocity is same throughout the motion. If velocity is same, it means change in velocity is 0. So acceleration is also 0. Right now delta V is 0. So acceleration is 0. So in this way you can define positive acceleration, negative acceleration and 0 acceleration. Now like types of velocity, there are also types of acceleration. Uniform acceleration, non-uniform acceleration, average acceleration and instantaneous acceleration. Uniform acceleration means change in velocity is same in equal interval of time per unit time if change in velocity is same. If change in velocity is same, it means acceleration is also constant or same or uniform throughout the motion. So this uniform acceleration is also called constant acceleration if change in velocity is same per unit time, right? Non-uniform acceleration if change in velocity is variable, if velocity changes by unequal amount per unit time or in equal interval of time, then in that case acceleration is non-uniform, or you can say variable acceleration, right? And if acceleration is variable, it means you have to calculate average acceleration and instantaneous acceleration. What is average acceleration? Average acceleration is used to calculate for large change. For large change, average acceleration you have to calculate, and it is total change in velocity by total time taken. Delta V by delta T. This delta represents this large change, right? But during the journey, you have to calculate acceleration at a particular instant, particular time. For that one, you have to calculate instantaneous acceleration. Acceleration at a particular instant, right? And it is calculated by using average velocity when delta T tends to 0, whenever there is a small change. This instantaneous is used for a small change. And here, delta V by delta T, limit delta T tends to 0 equal to dV by dt, derivative of V with respect to T. This D is used for small change. Delta is used for large change and D is used for a small change. So to calculate instantaneous acceleration, you have to differentiate V with respect to T. You have to calculate average acceleration, total change in velocity by total time taken. In this way, you have to calculate average and instantaneous acceleration. Please take a screenshot of this one. After this, we will solve one numerical. Now one numerical based on average velocity, instantaneous velocity, average acceleration, instantaneous acceleration, right? Here, question is the displacement of a particle is given by this equation, x equal to 18t plus 5t square. Now you have to calculate average velocity between t equal to 2 seconds and t equal to 3 seconds, instantaneous velocity at t equal to 2 seconds, average acceleration between t equal to 1 second and t equal to 2 seconds, and also instantaneous acceleration. So in this question, you have to calculate everything, whatever you have studied right now: average velocity, instantaneous velocity, average acceleration, instantaneous acceleration. So before solving this question, one thing you must keep in mind that here is x, v, and this one is a. If you want to calculate v with the help of x, you have to differentiate this x with respect to t. So v becomes dx by dt. Now if you want to calculate a with the help of v, you have to just differentiate v with respect to t. You get a. It means to calculate v from a from v, you have to differentiate. Differentiation is used, right? But if you want to calculate v, if a is given, then to calculate v from a, you have to integrate this a with respect to t dt. If you want to calculate x, if v is given, then you have to integrate this v with respect to time, you get x. So in reverse order, you have to integrate it, right? Integration is used. This one is very important formula. Please keep in mind. If you want to calculate in right, if you want to go in right direction, right? X to v, v to a, differentiation is used. If you want to calculate v from a, x from v, you have to integrate this one, right? Okay, so this one is very important formula. Please remember this one, right? Okay, now I'm going to start to solve this question. First one is average velocity. Already we have done one question based on average velocity, instantaneous velocity. Right now, x is given. You have to calculate average velocity. What is average velocity? Total displacement by total time. So between t equal to 2 seconds and t equal to 3 seconds, you have to calculate first displacement. X is given. So at t equal to 2 seconds, x2 becomes, you put the value of t equal to 2 here, 18 into 2 plus 5 into t square means 2 square, you get 56 meter. Now at t equal to 3 second, what is displacement? You put t equal to 3. So 18 into 3 plus 5 into 3 square equal to, you get 99 meter. Now you get displacement at these two times. What is the change in position? Change in position is x3 minus x2 by t2 minus t1. After solving this one, you get average velocity becomes 43 meter per second, right? So in this way you calculate average velocity. Now instantaneous velocity. At a particular time, what is the velocity? So at a particular time for a small interval, you differentiate displacement with respect to time. To get v, you have to differentiate this x with respect to t. So v instantaneous becomes dx by dt, d by dt, x is 18t plus 5t square. Now you know 18 is constant, take outside, differentiation of t is 1 plus 5 constant outside, differentiation of t square is 2t. So equations become v instantaneous 18 plus 10t. You have to calculate instantaneous velocity at t equal to 2 seconds. So you put the value of t equal to 2 seconds, v instantaneous becomes 18 plus 10t, in place of t you put 2. You get 18 plus 20, it means 38 meter per second. This is instantaneous velocity at t equal to 2 seconds, right? Now you have to calculate average acceleration between t equal to 1 second and t equal to 2 seconds. What is average acceleration? Total change in velocity by total time taken. Right now, so you have to calculate total change in velocity. It means velocity at t equal to 1 second and velocity at t equal to 2 seconds, right now, t equal to 1 second, t equal to 2 seconds. So velocity, already you find velocity 18 plus 10t. So at t equal to 1 second, here put you t equal to 1, you get 18 plus 10 into 1, 28 meter per second. Now at t equal to 2 seconds, we already found t equal to 2 seconds, velocity is 38 meter per second. Now average acceleration is total change in position, v2 minus velocity, v2 minus v1 by t2 minus t1. So 38 minus 28 by 2 minus 1, you get 10 meter per second square average velocity. Now last one, instantaneous acceleration. Here average acceleration, right now, total change in velocity by total time. Now last one, instantaneous acceleration, acceleration at a particular time. So for a particular time, you just differentiate v with respect to t, you get acceleration, dv by dt. So d by dt, v is what? 18 plus 10t. So differentiation of this 18 constant is 0, 10 is constant outside, differentiation of t is 1, 0 plus 10 is 10 meter per second square. In this way you calculate instantaneous acceleration. So this question is very, very important. In this question we cover all the formulas: average velocity, instantaneous velocity, average acceleration, instantaneous acceleration, everything. Please take a screenshot. Okay. Now next I am going to discuss about graph. What is graph? Graph is actually pictorial representation of motion of an object. With the help of graph, you can easily tell about the position, displacement, speed, velocity, acceleration of an object at any time. Okay, so there are different types of graph like position time graph, distance time graph, velocity time graph, and with the help of these graphs we can determine different physical quantities related to motion. How? Okay, in every graph time is always along x-axis and other quantity is along y-axis. Like in position time graph, position is along y-axis and time is along x-axis. In the same way, distance time graph, time is along x-axis and distance is along y-axis. So in every graph, time is always taken along x-axis and other quantity is along y-axis. In the same way, velocity time graph, velocity is along x-axis and time is along x-axis and velocity is along y-axis. Now with the help of this position time graph, we can easily determine velocity of an object. From this graph, we can easily determine velocity of an object at any time. With the help of this distance time graph, we can easily determine speed of an object at any time. With the help of this velocity time graph, we can easily determine acceleration of an object at any time. And also with the help of this graph, we can also determine displacement of an object. So how we determine these quantities with the help of these graphs? So to determine these quantities, you must know about slope. What is slope? Slope is nothing but inclination. Line makes what is the motion of an object. It means whatever is the motion of an object that makes some angle with the x-axis. If the angle increases with the x-axis, then slope also increases, and slope increases means inclination increases. For example, in this one, this is x-axis, right? And object is also along x-axis, means theta is 0. Here inclination is 0. Inclination is this one. Here x-axis, and this object makes 30-degree angle with the x-axis. So here inclination little bit increases. Here 60-degree inclination also again increases. Here inclination is 90-degree. It makes angle 90-degree with the x-axis, right? So angle increases, inclination increases, and inclination increases means slope increases. And also it means slope depends on angle theta, which it makes with the x-axis. And also angle increases, ratio of this perpendicular distance to the base also increases. Ratio of this perpendicular distance to the base increases. As the angle increases, ratio of this perpendicular to base also increases. So slope also depends on ratio of perpendicular distance to base. Perpendicular distance to base. So this perpendicular by base, you know what is perpendicular by base? That is tan theta. It means perpendicular by base, and tan theta gives slope of an object. And how this slope determine position time graph? With the help of position time graph, it gives velocity. Distance time graph, this slope gives speed. Velocity time graph, slope gives acceleration. How? Slope is P by B. So here perpendicular, suppose motion of an object at any time graph is like this one. So this one is perpendicular and this is base. So perpendicular is position and base is time. And this position by time, displacement by time gives velocity. It means slope of an object, this position time graph, slope gives velocity. Here distance time graph, slope of an object, slope is perpendicular by base. You can also calculate tan theta, whatever is the angle making with the x-axis. So this perpendicular distance by time gives speed of an object. Again velocity time graph, suppose motion is like this one. So this perpendicular by base, it means velocity, change in velocity by time, it gives acceleration. So in this way, with the help of these different graphs, we can easily determine velocity, speed, acceleration by finding slope of the body. Hope it's clear to you. What is slope? Slope is nothing but inclination. How much it makes angle with the x-axis. Greater the angle, greater is the slope. For example, suppose here there are two lines, right? First and this one is second. Here inclination is little bit less than this one. This is theta 1, it makes angle theta 2. So theta 2 is greater than theta 1. Here inclination is more than theta 1. So if inclination is more, if you put any object here, its speed is very high as compared to the object falling from this line. This point right now, here slope is less, here slope is more, inclination is more. So here velocity is also fast. Right? Hope it's clear to all of how this position time graph gives velocity and how slope increases, velocity of an object also increases. Mathematically also, you know, these are a straight line equation. Na? So equation of a straight line is what? Y equal to mx plus c. C is intercept on y-axis. If any line passes through this origin, for that case, you take c equal to 0. It means line passing through this origin. Then y equal to mx. Here m is the slope, and from here also it becomes y by x. It means mathematically also it is proved that slope is y by x. Y-axis, whatever is the value on y-axis, and then divided by x-axis. Ratio of this one perpendicular to base or y by x. From mathematically also slope is y by x, and with the help of this concept also, this slope is what? Perpendicular by base, it means tan theta. So if any question asks which These two, first and second line, has more slope. Greater the angle, greater is the slope. Smaller the angle, smaller is the slope. So this is about slope, because the concept of slope is very, very useful when we are discussing about graph. So now please take a screenshot. After this I will discuss different cases of position time graph and velocity time graph, right? Now, different cases of position time graph. First, you know that we already discussed that slope of this position time graph gives what? Slope of position time graph gives speed or velocity. Position time graph gives velocity. Must remember this point, okay? Slope of position time graph gives velocity and slope of distance time graph gives speed. So here I am going to discuss about position time graph. First one is for stationary objects. It means when the object is at rest. So when the time increases, the object remains at the same position. Because the object is at rest, the object is stationary, it does not change their position when the time increases. So at every time, object remains at the same position. So graph is like this one. As the time increases, the position of object remains same. So line is parallel to the time axis, x-axis. It means here slope is what? Here slope is 0. And slope 0 means velocity is 0. So when the object is at rest, its velocity becomes 0, right? Now for uniform motion. Uniform motion is what? If an object covers equal distance in equal interval of time. When the object is moving uniformly, it means at every time its speeds remains same or constant or uniform. So you know, position time graph, slope gives velocity, but for uniform motion, graph is like this one. As the time increases, distance also increases by equal amount. So here it is a straight line, and you know the slope of this position time graph gives velocity, and velocity at every time. Here it makes angle theta with the x-axis. Suppose at this point also, when you draw one line parallel to the x-axis, again here also it makes angle theta. At this point also, when you draw parallel line to the x-axis, here again angle is theta. So at every point theta is same, so slope is same, and slope same means velocity is same. So here it gives constant velocity. For uniform motion, it gives constant velocity. Constant means same velocity, right? Uniform velocity. So for uniform motion, velocity of an object is constant or uniform. Here time increases, the position increases with time, so this velocity also it is positive velocity. But now here during downward motion, this one is upward motion. During downward motion, as the time increases, position decreases with time. So here angle also decreases. It makes less angle with this one x-axis. So here slope decreases. It means here velocity decreases by constant amount. Velocity is constant or same, but in this case here positive velocity, and here this, when this position decreases with time, it gives negative velocity, right? Now come to non-uniform motion. Non-uniform motion means if an object covers unequal distance in equal interval of time. Sometimes its velocity increases, sometimes its velocity decreases. Velocity is not constant. Here it gives variable velocity. What type of velocity? For non-uniform motion, variable or changing velocity, right? And graph is like this one. Graph is like this curve, okay? Graph is like this one. This graph is for what? Velocity increases with time by unequal amount, but this is the case of increasing velocity, and this is the case of decreasing velocity during downward motion. Its velocity decreases by an unequal amount. So graph is like this one. So here velocity decreases with time, and here velocity increases with time but by unequal amount, because for non-uniform motion, object cover unequal distance in equal interval of time. So here slope is not constant every point. Here's, if you want to find slope at this point, you have to draw one tangent, so it makes angle theta here. If you want to find slope at this point, again you draw one tangent. So here angle theta is different. So at different point, for non-uniform motion, to calculate slope at any point, you have to draw tangent at that point, right? So here angle is different at different positions. So here velocity is also different. And for non-uniform motion, to find velocity at any point, we use differentiation, right? Here differentiation means here velocity is what? ds by dt. For very small change, we use always d. For large change, we use delta s by delta t. For a small change, we can write ds by dt. D represents for a small change, differentiation. And here slope of this position time graph gives velocity. It means tangent at any point gives velocity. And here velocity is not constant. So these are different cases of position time graph. When the object is at rest, velocity is 0. For uniform motion, velocity is constant. For non-uniform motion, velocity increases with time or velocity decreases with time. Okay, one more thing. Here velocity is increasing or decreasing right now, and here velocity is constant. For uniform motion, velocity constant means there is no change in velocity, so acceleration is 0 here. There is no acceleration. But in this case, for non-uniform motion, with the time velocity increases or decreases, it means the body has some acceleration. If there is some change in velocity, the body has some acceleration. So this one is position time graph for non-uniform motion also, and you can also say for uniformly accelerated motion, because it has some acceleration also, accelerated motion. So sometimes in 1 marks question it may ask that draw position time graph for uniformly accelerated motion, then you have to draw this position time graph. Okay, hope it's clear to all of you. Please take a screenshot. Then we'll move to next point, that is velocity time graph. Now velocity time graph, we already discussed that slope of VT graph gives acceleration, right now? Slope of displacement time graph gives velocity and velocity time graph gives acceleration. Now for uniform motion, we already discussed that for uniform motion, body covers equal distance in equal interval of time. In that case, speed is constant or uniform. So for uniform velocity or uniform motion, velocity is constant. It means time increases, velocity remains same. So VT graph is like this one. This one is parallel to the time axis, right? So if velocity is same throughout the motion, there is no change in velocity. So you can say here acceleration is 0. Now for non-uniform motion, velocity increases or decreases by equal amount or by unequal amount, but there is some acceleration if there is change in velocity. So for non-uniform motion, there are two parts for uniformly accelerated motion, when the acceleration is uniform, and when acceleration is uniform or constant, if change in velocity is equal in equal interval of time. If in equal interval of time, change in velocity is also equal, in that case acceleration is uniform or constant, and VT graph is like this one, a straight line. It passes through the origin or it passes through some point on the x-axis. So this graph is for uniformly accelerated motion. In this case, its velocity increases by equal amount in equal interval of time. So here acceleration is what? Uniform or constant. Uniform or constant. Uniformly accelerated motion, right? Now for non-uniformly accelerated motion, both are for non-uniform motion, but here acceleration is uniform or constant, but here change in velocity is not equal in equal interval of time. It means acceleration is not constant. So for non-uniformly accelerated motion, VT graph is like this one. Hope it's clear to all of you. So from these graphs, it's clear that slope of this velocity time graphs gives acceleration at different points. For non-uniformly accelerated motion, if you want to find acceleration at any point or slope at any point, you draw one tangent at that point. And tangent means what? In physics, you have to use differentiation. It means here acceleration becomes what? dv by dt, right? So if you want to find acceleration at this point, here again slope is, you draw one slope, tangent, right? and the slope of this straight line gives acceleration. So mathematically you have to differentiate v with respect to t, you get acceleration, right? One more important point, you must note down this one. This is very, very important point. Area under velocity time graph. This is velocity time graph, and if you want to calculate area under this graph, this one is area under this VT graph, and this area is what? Length into breadth, and velocity into time, and velocity into time is what? V into t is what? This is displacement. So you must note down this point. Area under VT graph gives displacement, right? If you want to calculate displacement from this graph, you just calculate the area of this triangle, right? You have to just calculate the area of this quadrilateral, you get displacement. So to calculate displacement, you have to find area in the VT graph, and to calculate acceleration, you have to find slope of VT graph. Hope it's clear to all of you. I think you already derived equation of motion using graph right now. With the help of this graph, VT graph, you have to calculate an equation of motion for uniformly accelerated body. But in class 11, in your syllabus, you have to calculate equation of motion by calculus method, not by graphical representation, okay? You have to use calculus method. So after this, I will discuss equation of motion by calculus method. Next, equation of motion for a uniformly accelerated body by calculus method. You already derived equation of motion in class 9th using graphical method or mathematical formula. But in class 11, you have to derive equation of motion by calculus method. It means integration and differentiation method. So first, what are different equation of motion? V is V equal to U plus AT. Here V is what? V is final velocity. U is what? U is initial velocity. A is what? A is uniform acceleration, constant acceleration. Body is moving with constant acceleration. For that only this equation is valid. And T is what? Time. Again, S is distance traveled. Distance traveled. These are the meaning of these symbols, right? So first equation of motion is V equal to U plus AT. Second equation of motion is S equal to UT plus half AT square. Third one is V square minus U square equal to 2S. And one more new formula, that is distance traveled by a body for nth second. This one is for T second. T means 4 seconds, 5 seconds, and this one is distance traveled by a body for nth second. When a body moves from one position to another after 4 seconds, fourth second, what is the distance traveled by the body? So this formula also we have to derive, and SNF equal to U plus A by 2, 2n minus 1. N is here time, right? So before deriving these equations by calculus method, you must have some idea about integration. Integration are of two types, definite and indefinite. In definite integral, there are limits. This A is lower limit and B is upper limit, right? So suppose integration of x dx. Integration of x dx is what? X square by 2, and then limits is from A to B. After this, after solving this, integrating this one, you have to put limits. First you put upper limit, then minus lower limit. So in place of x, you put the value of b, b square by 2, minus then lower limit a square by 2. In this way, you integrate these things. This is definite integral. Indefinite integral, there is no limit. Just integrate it. X square by 2 is the answer. No need to put limit because here there is no limit. But here in definite integral, there are lower and upper limits. You have to put upper limit minus lower limit, right? Okay, one more example for integration is integration of a dt. A is constant here. You take constant outside. Integration of dt. Integration of dt is t. 0 to t. Then you put limits. First upper limit is at t. So you put in t minus lower limit is 0. So you put t equal to 0. It becomes 80. In this way you solve this one. In the same way, v square dv. So integration of v square is what? V cube by 3. U to v. V is upper limit, u is lower limit. Now you first put upper limit. So v is v cube by 3 minus lower limit is u. So put u in place of this v, u cube minus 3. In this way you solve indefinite integrals, and these methods are used when you are deriving these equations by calculus method, right? So hope it's clear to all of you. You must remember one formula for integration which is very important, x to the power n dx, because this formula is used at every place, right? X to the power n, x square, x cube, x4. So x to the power n is x to the power n plus 1 divided by n plus 1. This one is very important formula. You must note down, right? V square, integration of v square is, power is here 2, so 2 plus 1 by 2 plus 1, so v cube by 3 in this way. So you must remember this formula, right? Hope it's clear how you integrate different functions. Now I am going to derive first equation, v equal to u plus at by calculus method, and this equation is valid only for uniformly accelerated body. If the uniform acceleration is there, body moves with uniform or constant acceleration. So let us suppose that body initially is at point A and after some time it reaches to point B. So it has time t equal to 0, initial velocity is u, because I want u also initial velocity, and after time t equal to t it gains velocity v, and this body moves with acceleration a, right? Now from definition of acceleration is change in velocity per unit time, and if change is very small you write dv by dt. Now you take dt multiply a, so dv equal to a dt. Now integrating both sides, you integrate both sides, dv, integration of dv and integration of a dt. Now you have to put limits. When time t equal, here variable is what? Time, and here variable is v. It means with time velocity changes. At time t equal to 0, velocity is u, and at time t equal to t, velocity is v. So you put limits. Here time is there, so at time t equal to 0, velocity is u, and upper limit at time t equal to t, velocity is v. Hope it's clear. At t equal to 0, velocity is u, and at t equal to t, velocity is v, right? So this one, now integrate this one, integration of dv. Integration of dv is v, like integration of dx is x. You must note down this one also. Okay, so integration of dx is x, so integration of dv is v, upper limit, lower limit, equal to a is constant, take outside, integration of dt is, like integration of dv is v, integration of dt is t, lower limit then upper limit. Now you put the limits, upper limit minus lower limit, so in place of v it becomes v minus u. Here a, upper limit is t, minus lower limit is 0. So a t minus 0, this becomes v minus u equal to at, or you can say v equal to u plus at. Hope it's clear. Right now you start from the definition of acceleration, because I want a here, then integrate and also put limits. After this integrating and putting limits, you get v equal to u plus at. Okay, please note down. Then next, second equation of motion, s equal to ut plus half at square. To prove or to derive this equation, you start from the definition of velocity. Velocity is what? Rate of change of displacement. Write a displacement per unit time. For a small change, you have to write v equal to ds by dt. You take dt here, multiplied with v, ds equal to v dt, right? Now I want u also. So using first equation of motion, this v becomes u plus at, right? So you write in place of v, u plus at. Now integrate both sides. So integration of ds equal to integration of u plus at dt. Now we already discussed in mathematical tools, whenever there is addition of two variables, you just separate integrate, right? So here integration of u dt plus here is the integration of a t dt, right? Now put the limits at time t equal to 0, because here variable is time, here variable is displacement. So at time t equal to 0, displacement is 0, and at time t equal to t, displacement is s. So at t equal to 0, s is 0, and t equal to t, displacement is s. So you put the limits 0 to s, integration of ds equal to 0 to t integration of u dt plus integration of 0 to t a t dt. Now integrate, you know integration of ds is s, limits put 0 to s equal to u is constant here, here variable is time. So integration of dt is again t, limits 0 to t plus here a is constant, you take a outside, integration of t dt. T dt integration is what? T square by 2, limits 0 to t. Now you put the limits, upper limit minus lower limit, here s, so s upper limit minus 0 lower limit, so s minus 0. Now here equal to u, t, upper limit is t, lower limit is 0, so t minus 0 you write, plus a, and 2 is constant, you take 2 outside also, upper limit is t and lower limit is 0, so t square minus 0, right? So this terms becomes 0, so it becomes s minus 0 is s equal to u, t minus 0 is t, so ut plus half at square. In this way you derive second equation of motion, distance travelled by a body in time t second. And this equation is also valid, all these equations are valid only for uniformly accelerated body. So this is the expression for distance travelled by a body in time t, right? Hope it's clear. You start from definition of velocity and then you derive it, okay? To derive first equation of motion, you start from definition of acceleration. To derive second equation of motion, you derive from definition of velocity. Now last one, not last one, there is one more derivation, right? This third equation of motion, v square minus u square equal to 2s. Again you start from acceleration, a is dv by dt. Here you have to multiply numerator and denominator by ds. Now you take this dv by ds at one side and ds by dt another, right? So dv by ds into ds by dt, and you know this ds by dt is what? V. So this acceleration becomes v dv by ds. This is also a formula for acceleration. No need to write all these things if you know this formula, a equal to v dv by ds. You directly write a equal to v dv by ds, or you start from this point also, okay? So this ds is multiplied here, a ds equal to v dv. Integrating both sides, so integration of a ds equal to integration of v dv. Now you put the limits here, variable is velocity and this side variable is displacement. So at 0 displacement there is initial velocity u, at s equal to 0 velocity is u, and after covering distance s, its final velocity becomes v. So this side displacement variable 0 to s equal to, here v is variable to initial velocity u to v. Now here again a is constant, you take outside, integration of ds is s, 0 to s equal to, here integration of v is v square by 2, like x to the power n is x to the power n plus 1 by n plus 1. So v square by 2. Now you put the limits, upper minus lower, s minus 0 here. Here upper is v minus u, here v square minus u square. So a is equal to v square minus u square by 2, and then it becomes v square minus u square equal to 2as. In this way you derive third equation of motion also. Hope it's clear to all of you, okay? Revise it properly, because these equations of motion it's very important for every exam, right now. So you must know how to derive these equations of motion. Now please take a screenshot. Then one more thing is left, that is distance travelled by nth second. Okay, last one is distance travelled by a body in nth second. What does it mean, distance travelled by a body in nth second? Suppose body is at point A, initial position is A. After 1 second it reaches to B, and then after 1 second it reaches to C, again after 1 second it reaches to D point, right? So 1 second difference is there. If you want to calculate distance traveled by a body from A to D, it means after 3 seconds, then you can easily calculate distance using that formula, S equal to ut plus half at square. Okay, after 2 seconds, what is distance traveled by the body? This much distance, right? After 3 seconds, distance traveled by a body is A to D, this one, right? This one you can say after 2 seconds, distance traveled by a body is S2, and this one is S3, distance traveled by a body in 3 seconds. So you just put the value t equal to 3 here, you get S3, t equal to 2 here, you get S2. But if you want to find distance traveled by a body in third second means this one, from C to D. This is called first second, this B to C is second, and this C to D is third second. So how you find distance traveled by a body in this third second, this much? This just distance traveled by a body in 3 seconds minus distance traveled by a body in 2 seconds. S3 minus S2, you get distance traveled by a body in third second. So distance traveled by a body in third second becomes S3 minus S2. Hope it's clear. This is distance traveled by a body in 3 seconds. This one is distance traveled by a body in 2 seconds. But you have to find distance traveled by a body in third second. This one is first second, B to C second, C to D third second. So meaning of this one is third, distance traveled by third second. Here third is what? Time. After third second means C to D, how much it travels distance? S3 minus S2. In the same way, distance traveled by a body in fourth second. So you write S4 up to 4 seconds, what is distance traveled, and up to 3 seconds, S3. So here distance traveled by a body in nth second, it means S and nth. You have to derive this one. So like this one, formula of this becomes Sn minus Sn minus 1, right? This is distance traveled by a body in nth second. So you simply also derive this, you know, S in place of n, time t equal to n, you get Sn, you put t equal to n minus 1, you get Sn minus 1, and then take difference of these two, you get this formula only, u plus half a 2n minus 1. But I am going to derive using calculus method. It's very easy. So S nth distance traveled by a body in nth second, that is Sn minus 1. So this Snth second is nothing but Sn minus distance traveled by the body in n minus 1. So I am going to derive using calculus method. So from definition of V is ds by dt. Same thing which you derived using this one, S equal to ut plus half at square. Same formula, same process is there. Only a difference is Sn minus 1. So V is ds by dt. Here ds equal to v dt, integrating both sides. This becomes ds equal to v dt. Now put the limits at time t equal to n. You have to calculate Sn minus 1. So at time t equal to n, distance traveled by a body is Sn. And at t equal to n minus 1, distance traveled by a body is Sn minus 1. You put the limits here, variable is displacement and time. Displacement is Sn minus 1 when time is n minus 1. Displacement is Sn when time is n. Right? Now using first equation of motion, you put v equal to u plus at, then differentiate these things. Integration of ds equal to integration of u dt plus integration of at dt, and then limits are these. So integration of ds is s, limits Sn minus 1 to Sn, equal to u, integration of dt is t, limits n minus 1 to n, plus a, integration of t, a is constant, take outside, integration of t is t square by to limits n minus 1 to n. Now you put the limit, upper limit is Sn, lower limit is Sn minus 1. So this becomes Sn minus 1 equal to u, upper limit is n minus lower limit is n minus 1. You write n minus 1 in bracket, minus n minus 1 plus a by 2, upper limit is, here 2 is constant, take outside, a by 2, t square, upper limit is n, so n square, minus lower limit is n minus 1, so n minus 1 whole square. This becomes this term, Sn minus 1 is what? Snth, distance travelled by a body in nth seconds. So you write Snth equal to u. Here you open the bracket, n minus n and minus plus 1. You just cancel these n plus minus n cancel. Plus a by 2, here n square minus n minus 1 whole square, formula is what? A minus b whole square, a square minus 2ab plus b square. Here also n square minus 2n plus 1. You open this one, right? Now again, here n cancel, only 1 is left, so u plus half a. Inside the bracket, this n square is cancelled, minus, and this minus plus, so plus 2n. Minus plus minus 1, so 2n minus 1, so Snth equal to u plus half a 2n minus 1. In this way you derive this equation, only limits are changed, everything is same, whatever process you are using to derive this equation, right? This is distance travelled by a body in t second, and this is distance travelled by a body in nth second. So nth second means distance travelled by a body in n second minus distance travelled by a body in n minus 1 second. So in this way you derive this equation, starting from velocity v, integrating both sides, putting the limits, you get final equation Snth. This formula is very important. Many exams questions based on this formula may be asked, right? In G mains also and NEET also. Snth equal to u is initial velocity plus half a 2n minus 1. N is time. After nth second, what is distance covered by the body? Hope it's clear to all of you. Please take a screenshot. First, now last, motion under gravity. When a body falls under gravity or moves upward under gravity, then what are the equation of motion, right? This 3 is equation of motion valid for uniform acceleration, when a body moves with uniform or constant acceleration, right? V equal to u plus at, s equal to ut plus half at square, v square minus u square equal to 2s. But when a body is moving under gravity, then you have to replace a by g. G is acceleration due to gravity. Then these equations becomes u plus minus gt, s equal to ut plus minus half gt square, v square minus u square equal to plus minus 2gs. Here you must keep in mind what is the sign of g. When a body moves in upward direction, for upward motion it is going upward against the gravity, you take a equal to minus g, and for downward motion it means towards the gravity, a equal to plus g. So here I have written this plus minus sign. Plus g is for downward motion and minus g is for upward motion in all the 3 equations. So these are equations of motion under gravity, right? Again, one more thing, you must note this point, okay? At top, when a body reaches maximum height, its final velocity becomes 0 or minimum, v equal to 0, and at the ground bottom its velocity is maximum. So hope how you solve motion under gravity numericals. I'm going to solve one problem. A ball is thrown vertically upward with a speed 8 meters per second. A ball is throwing vertically upward with a speed is given 8 meters per second. Right? Find time taken by it to reach maximum height. When a ball is thrown vertically upward, it reaches maximum height. What is this height? After which time it reaches at the maximum position? So first you have to find time taken by it to reach maximum height, t. Then maximum height, you have to find this one, maximum height, and after that time taken to reach initial position. Again it returns back to its initial position. So upward time is time of ascent and downward time is time of descent. So ascent time is always equal to descent time. So you just in upward motion, time is t, and total time upward plus downward twice t, right? So how you solve these equations? First one, you have to find time taken by it to reach maximum height. For that one, you have to use this equation of motion, v equal to u plus at. For upward motion, a is what? Minus g, and also maximum height, final velocity becomes 0. So you replace a by minus g, v equal to u minus gt, then here put v equal to 0, u is 8 meter per second, minus g, value of g is what? 10, and t, from here you find t equal to 0.8 second, right? This is the time taken by a body to reach maximum height, 0.8 second. Now what is the maximum height? For that you have to use this equation, v square minus u square equal to 2as. So v is again 0 at the maximum height, u is 8 square equal to 2. Again a is replaced by upward motion minus g, so it becomes minus 10 into s. From here, after calculating, you get s equal to 3.2 meter, right? In this way you solve these two parts. Third part, time taken to reach to reach initial position. Time taken by a body to reach maximum height is 0.8 second, and again it reaches back to initial position. So same time, upward motion 0.8 second, downward motion also 0.8 second. It means multiplied by 2. So total time taken is t equal to twice t, 2 into 0.8, it means t equal to 1.6 second. In this way you solve. Actually this video is very lengthy, so I will solve only one numerical. I will try to make another part of this numerical section only, okay? So please take a screenshot. So with this, I am going to end the class. Hope you like this one-shot series of class 11th. So please like, subscribe and share my channel. Okay students? And if you want this type of one-shot series for other chapters also, you must write in the comment box. So keep revising and stay tuned with this channel. Thank you.